Hello everybody, this is Debbie Eno. I hope that you guys are well. Right, I have started a new school last week. And there's so many, it's interesting. There's so many things going on in that school. Initially, when I got the contract in that school, I was told it was until July. It is still until it is still end of July, but I'm not too sure because in terms of the journey, it's quite challenging. Apart from that, the school is wonderful. It is not in a very affluent area, but it doesn't matter. It is just beautiful school. Yes, the school have, as most schools, they have a behavior issue. But the beautiful thing about this school is they're actually working on it. So they identify there is a behavior issue and they're working on it. I've worked in schools where the teachers and everybody know there's a behavior issue, but the head, the senior leadership team are pretending there isn't a behavior issue, so therefore nothing is being done. But in this school, they know they have a behavior issue. And when we had the training last week, they spoke about it a number of times. Some of the things we have to do in terms of, to stamp out the behavior, etc. One of the things that I noticed in all schools I've gone through in London, and I've taught in a lot of them, they do the behavior policy. It's like you talk to the student, you say, oh, you call them out, then you put the name on the board, then you give them one tick, and the second tick is detention. I'm beginning to get used to that. That's not something I've liked. That's not something I used to use, but in the last 18 months, I had no option than to start embracing that. So that school uses that as well. Another thing this school uses, in terms of getting the student to do a 360. Like that, so we mean that you send the child outside, but it's 360. So we're talking about probably about for 2 minutes, because there's sometimes some children need to go out to cool their head, right? Because there's so many things going on. The child need to, to take a break out. I have not done that yet. I've just been constantly just reminding them of the behavior policy. So that's two of the things the school uses. And something the school uses, which is really nice, is, when we actually have our lessons, let's say when we actually go to our lessons, we stand at the door. That is something most schools do, greet the students at the door. But when you're at the door, you're actually seeing what the other children are doing from a distance. So therefore, if they're messing around in the corridor, you could just remind them. If they're strolling to the lesson, you could remind them. So those are some of the things that the school have in place, which I feel they're very, very positive. The detention, I got a question mark, because I feel that something could be done instead of the detention for the behavior. But that's, that's something I need to actually think about and talk to them about. So that's another thing that is brilliant in the school. In a lot of schools, they would have form time. Some schools call it form time. Some schools call it tutor time, tutorial time, etc., etc. I've been in a number of schools where the form time, one school I went to, the form time, the teacher was reading a book to the children, a novel to the students, and the students followed up. I think it was, personally, I thought that was a waste of time, because I feel that that time could be used in terms of personal development for the students. And I've been to other schools where you just get them to catch up on their homework, or other schools that they have assembly, which is online. If it's a religious school, they talk in terms of the assembly, connecting it to the Bible, etc. Others have the students, especially if it's sixth form, looking at the UCAS application and stuff like that. But this school, oh my goodness, this is right up my street. This school have personal development. So in the morning time, from 8:30 until 10 to 9, you have personal development with the students. So it's the session's already planned. You just need to deliver it and put your twig in it. You twig it. So it's really, really, really good. That's one thing I must commend that school on, because especially now in terms of students' mental health, it is so important that school embrace those things. So on Monday, what did we look at on Monday? On Monday, yes, Monday was getting them to visualize something. So they had a picture, and that they had an image of somebody in the desert. So it's getting them to imagine what the story is about. So they need to use their imagination, the visualization, and make a story with what they saw in that picture. That was Monday. Tuesday they had, no, I think it's the other way around actually. I think Monday they had an assembly to welcome them back. So teachers was not involved as such. Our involvement was minimal. So they had an assembly to welcome them back, tell them what the expectations are, etc., etc. And yesterday was the image that they had to actually look at that image and write a story about. That was brilliant, brilliant, brilliant. Because he actually got them out of the comfort zone. He actually got them to imagine. And I was, I made it very, very interactive, because when they've actually, I put a picture up on the board, although they had it in a handout, I wanted them to tell me what they saw in the picture, or give me the, what they imagine the story is going to be like. It was fascinating, because the students have all sorts. I said to them, I want them to step out of the comfort zone. My goodness, didn't they step out of the comfort zone? They were saying all sorts in terms of, some people saw it as, some students saw it as a desert. Some people saw it in terms of, they're going to ride the camel. There was no camel there, right? But they imagined this camel, which was interesting. And others saw it as what they were going to do. I had two students decide, oh, the desert seems to be long, I'm going to give up, there's no point, I'm not going to get out. So that I had to change those student mindset. I had to enable them to see the possibility of, okay, what are you going to think about if you actually got out? So you need to be thinking of you getting out of this desert and what you're hoping to do when you get out of that desert. So it was really interesting, because they really did, start writing some brilliant stories. So that's yesterday. Today we look at, today was a real nice one. We looked at resilience, how the students were, definition of resilience, and how they see themselves in terms of resilience, and how they could connect with that. Oh my goodness, that was right up my street. I was at home with that, because as a transformational coach, oh my goodness, I was doing that with my students anyway, doing various transformational things with them. But today, I did it more than once. I did it with my year 13 group, the one that was prepared for us, and then I did it later on with my other groups. So that was really, really good. So we spoke about resilience and what the definition were, and how they saw themselves in terms of resilience, and in terms of navigating, how they navigate their mental health. And then we looked at mindfulness, what they understand by mindfulness. So for me, the topics there was just a cue. I did more than just that, because I just needed the cue, and then I just, step outside of the comfort zone and just express that differently, because I wanted them all to participate. So it was a very, very active session. So I asked them in terms of mindfulness, what was mindfulness, what mindfulness meant to them, and how are they going to use mindfulness in terms of their daily life. So they came up with a whole range of ideas, and that was really, really good. We then looked at what's it called? Rules, ground rules. Oh my goodness, I forget it. We looked at ground rules, what ground rules were, and some of the things that were accepted and were not acceptable and were not acceptable in terms of students as a whole, especially teenagers. They love to put each other down. And some of them, they do it not even consciously aware of it. So that's something I had to drum into them today. For you, it might be a joke, and you feel that you're teasing this individual. But for that individual, it might be very, very loaded, because you don't know where they're coming from. You don't know what actually happened to them before they got to school. So when you are saying to them, oh, you're silly, oh, you're stupid, for you, the person that is saying that to them might be just a joke, but for them, it's real, because their home life might be, parents might be telling them all the time that they're stupid and they're not good enough and they're dumb. So that become the reality. And then you come into school and you're saying that, which means you're reinforcing it. So that's something I had to actually speak to them about in terms of the ground rules. No put down, you know, listen to each other, celebrate each other, appreciate what someone else have to say. You don't necessarily have to agree with it, but appreciate it. So those are some of the things we did in the ground rules. It was really, really good, because the session this morning was from 8:30 to 9:10, because on a Wednesday they have the extra session. Oh, that was good, because I then gave them a picture of an air balloon. And I wanted them to tell me what they saw in this picture. So it was an air balloon, and in it, it was a night sky, etc., etc. And the students' imagination was great. They saw so many things in that picture. A lot of them were stepping out of their comfort zone, because they were telling me, you know, their imagination, you know, they were forming it into a story and things like that. So that was my year 13 group, which is sixth formers, because the next step is university. They're going to university as from September. So it was really good in terms of getting them to be independent and own it and see themselves as becoming personally developed, the purpose of doing that, and independent learner. I went on about I wanted them to start becoming much more independent learner than they are now, because I feel that they're slightly dependent, because they, oh, miss, I haven't got a pen. Oh, these are year 13, right? We're talking about 17-year-olds. Miss, I haven't got a pen. Have you got a pen? Oh, miss, I can't find my folder. Really? No. I tell them they need to take responsibility for their learning. So that's what the personal development is about. We are developing you personally, so you could actually start taking responsibility and start owning things. So that was my year 13 this morning. That was my first session with them, you know, because school starts at 8:30. And we educators are supposed to get there at quarter past 8. And the session starts at 8:30. Well, some people get at 8 o'clock, but it's a push for me to even get there quarter past 8, because of the distance the place is. And this one was an extended session, so we finished at quarter past 9. And although we, you know, we are going through, the students still continue, and I said to them, hold on, it's 10 past, we need to wrap up now, because, you know, I have a lesson at 10 past 9. They finish at 10 past, the next lesson starts at 10 past. So I had another lesson at 10 past. I had psychology with some of those students in that group, you know, so we had to end the session. So tomorrow we're going to continue the session. So I'll tell you how we go on with that. But it was brilliant. That is one school that is actually doing self-development for students, and it is brilliant, because it meant that the students are seeing the positive aspect of self-development. I'm just trying to plug on my phone, because but I'll just plug in the phone. Right. Oh. Right. So yes. So that's one of the plus with that school. Another thing I've been doing with my students from the time the student came in on Monday, I've been doing a lot of mirror work with them. Telling them that, you know, finding out if they had a mirror in the bed, in the bathroom, and every day look at themselves in the mirror and remind themselves of the beauty. And when I actually told them that, the first response I got was, because my first group on Monday morning, I think was year 10, it's like, giggle, giggle, giggle. Yes, I allow them to get that out of the system. But then when I say to them, okay, on a serious note, this is what I want you to do. Every morning, I want you to do mirror work. I want you to, remind yourself of your beauty, that you're good enough and you're beautiful, etc., etc. So it was really good because on Tuesday, when I met them in the corridor, oh, miss, yes, I've been doing it. How is it making you feel? One student said to me that it doesn't make her feel good because she just don't see herself as being beautiful. So that's something I had to say to, okay, we'll have to work on that. Because that group I see twice a week, so I'm seeing them tomorrow. So that is what I've done all week with my students. I taught them psychology, because the two subjects I'm teaching, psychology and sociology, but it was also important for me to actually start empowering them, because as I say to them, young people, which is age 13 to 16, disempowered young people become disempowered adults, right? And young people who are not confident because they're not empowered, they then become adults who are not confident. So that's the journey I'm on with these young people, because I keep on saying to them that we need to start early. You guys should have started long before that, but right now I need to empower you so that you start believing in yourself and loving yourself, because you then become adult, and as you grow up with the love in yourself and feeling confidence in yourself, you become very confident adults. So that's one of the things I did with them. Another thing I did that with all my groups. I think I had, 4 psychology groups? I had 4 or 5 psychology groups and 4 or 5 sociology groups. I think that's how the group goes, because this is the first time for a long time I'm teaching year 10. So I'm teaching year 10, year 11s, year 12, and year 13. I'm teaching 4 groups. I was quite disappointed in terms of teaching year 10, because when I got the job, I wasn't told that I was teaching year 10. I didn't even know I was teaching year 11 either. I thought I was only teaching 6th form. But when I got there last week during the training, I was told, oh, Debbie, this is your timetable. Really? And I said to my manager, oh, I wasn't aware that I was teaching year 10. He said, yes. Oh, didn't they tell you? No, they didn't. I thought, I said to him, oh my goodness. Because year 10, that age group could be quite challenging. And when I transition, I've told myself I only want to teach year 12 and year 13. But I must say, so far it's been beautiful teaching them. They're chatty, but at the same time, it's lovely because, getting them to do the mirror work, etc. There seems to be one telling the other. It's like I'm walking on the corridor and I'm hearing, Miss, and I'm looking and can't remember seeing you in my psychology sociology group. No, miss, you don't teach me, but I would like to be in your class. Why do you want to be in my class? Because, you do development thing. Really? I said, okay, whoever's told you that, just keep on practicing what they're telling you. Another thing I say to my students, I wanted them to do letters. As I've asked them to do 2 letters, and I also asked them to start doing journaling. Right, 1 letter is the future them, talking to, the future self. So they're finishing in May, June, July. That's the 3 months my different groups are finishing. So I've asked them to write themselves a letter, seeing themselves in those months, what there would be, what it looks like for them, right? That's 1 letter. The next letter, I want them to write everything positive about themselves. So I don't want anything else in that letter. So it's like whether or not you write yourself, dear beautiful or dear handsome, whatever. And I said to them, I want them to identify all the positive in themselves. No negatives. Anything that someone have told you was negative, I want you to turn it into a positive, and I want you to write about it. So that's the other letter. And then I say to them, I want them to keep a journal. I want them to start taking things off of their head and dumping it in the journal. So those are the 3 things I ask them to do. Some groups I see 3-4 times a week, because in the school there are, I think it's 6 I can't remember. I think it's 6 lessons, 6 periods. 6 period, 5 period, anyway, whatever. Some groups I see 3 times a week. Some group I see once a week. The year 10s, I see the year 10 psychology, I see 1 to 3 times in the week. The year 10 sociology, I see twice in the week. And year 13 and year 11 I see twice a week. Year 13 I see practically every day. I see them for sociology, I see them for psychology. So that's what I've asked them to do. And it was interesting because the groups I had today, I had 4 or 5 groups, I can't remember. Oh my goodness. I've asked them, they could share the letter with the rest of the group, or they could share aspect of it. They could share 1 paragraph of it. They make the decision. So some of them decided that they were going to just talk about it. And one of the things the majority of people seems to be having challenges with is writing the letter that have all positive about themselves. One student said to me, Miss, I find it so hard to find positive about myself. I said, that's my point. Because you've always been told so many negatives, those negatives became your reality and you're beginning to leave it. I don't want you to leave those anymore. I want you to now start writing yourself a new story, 1 new letter, and all positive, and start embracing the positive in you. So it was interesting because I said to that group in particular, because I'm seeing them tomorrow, I said by tomorrow I want you guys to bring the letters in and start writing. I say it's going to be a letter in progress, because finding things to write about yourself that is all positive can be quite challenging. As I said, when we have been brought up with a whole barrage of negativity and we begin to look in the mirror and start breaking it down and saying, yes, well, my nose is big, my eyes are big, etc., etc., we begin to take on those labels. So therefore, in terms of finding something positive regarding those that was negative is very challenging. So I said to that group tomorrow, I want them to bring in the letter. And remember, it's a letter in progress. So start writing at least 2 to 3 paragraphs this evening about all the things positive about yourself, no negative. Look, identify yourself and start looking at some of the beauty. And people out there, I want you to do that as well. It is going to be sometimes it could bring in a lot of tears, because you looking at yourself and thinking, oh my goodness, I was told that I am ugly, that I'm not good enough, etc. And then it becomes your reality. But yes, it's like yesterday I was doing a counseling session with a client, and that's one of the things that came up in our conversation, that she's been married for a number of years, and this is something she's always been told by her husband, that she wasn't good enough. You know, look at you, you know, you haven't been working, I'm paying all the bills, da, da, da. So it was like all the negative, and she began to believe it. Until now, when she and I talking, she realized that what he said was wrong. I'm not any of those. So these are some of the things that people would be telling us, because I could talk from my own experience. When I came to this country, you know, never experienced racism before in the Caribbean, obviously. And I was told everything negative about myself. And even though when I came home, mommy would be saying, no, you're not. Because that have been programmed to you and you spend so many hours at school, you begin to believe that. One of the things that have always been, I keep on talking about that because I'm beginning to find people identify with that, was I had rubber lips. And for decade, I hated my lips. I didn't see anything beautiful about my lips, because I was told by even black people that I had rubber lips. And I used to, you know, I remember one day coming home and saying to mommy, I've got rubber lips. And she said to me, what are you talking about? I said, I was told that my lips are ugly. It's rubber lips. And, you know, mommy had to say to me, there's nothing wrong with your lips. That's how, you know, that's how black people lips are. Some black people lips are, da, 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 da. And I'm thinking, what's she talking about? They tell me I'm ugly. And I embraced that as being that I was ugly until later in my teens that, I was on a flight because we used to go on holidays twice a year, whatever, twice, 3 times a year. And this guy, there was no, it was no sexual nothing. He looked at me and he said, "Oh my goodness, you got lovely lips." And I looked at him, I'm thinking, "What are you talking about?" And then I said to him, "No, I don't." He said, "Yes, you do." And he said to me that you need to start embracing that. What is he talking about? My lips are rubber and my lips are ugly. And then I started to think about it. And then something actually came to mind. "Debbie, this is your lips. You cannot change it. You might as well embrace it." So in my late teens, I started embracing the fact that this is my lips. And as I became older, I realized my lips are one of my most beautiful features. Because some of the negative that people have been telling us about ourselves, those must be, you've got to make it one of your positive features and one of the features to embrace, because guess what? You cannot change it. And why would you want to change it? That's what makes you unique. That's what makes you unique, you. So I began to embrace my lips. And here I am today. One of the most beautiful features of myself is my beautiful lips. Because I also realized that people like and want to have fuller lips like mine. So they're finding ways of doing that. So when I talk to young people, and that's something that's thrown out quite a lot, is either, especially young black girls and young black boys, something they constantly throw out is their nose and their lips. And I then have to pause and say to them, I want you to start beginning to see that as one of your greatest assets, because it is. And remind yourself constantly that that is one of your greatest assets. And look in the mirror and remind yourself of your beauty. So that is something we need to start telling our young people, that because these young people then become adults. And these features become their negative assets rather than the positive assets. And that's something we need to constantly encourage them to embrace, because they have nothing else. That is them. That's what makes them unique. So it's interesting because I find myself yet again in schools that I'm constantly reminding the student as, that is your beauty. It's like another student was saying to me that because she's small, everybody keep on saying that she's so small, etc. So then I have to remind her that small thing comes, beautiful thing comes in small packages, So you need to start embracing that, because you can become taller. This is you now. So you just need to start having this mantra that this is part of you and it's what makes you unique and you love yourself. So it's like doing all of that work with my students. And I must say, one of my wins, or some of my wins, is beginning to pay off, because they're beginning to embrace it. And, they're meeting me on the corridor and they're telling me that, "Oh, miss, I've heard about your class, these students like you, And I'm thinking, what? Where did you get that? Miss, because, students are saying that you're telling them to like themselves, they need to love themselves, etc. So that is quite good. And another thing I say to students, and I want you guys to do that as well, when you actually pass in next to a glass window and you see your reflection, man, you need to pause at that window. And you need to admire yourself and remind yourself, oh my goodness, you are a fantastic specimen. And you need to embrace that specimen of you, right? That's why I say to my students, because in my classroom, the two classroom I use up and down, it's got, whoa, a fantastic glass door. And I'm saying to my student, when you guys stand up, I want you to look at your reflection in that glass, that glass window, because it's like a whole pane of it. and see yourself as a fantastic specimen. And it's like, they started laughing. And I said to them, okay, this is what I want each of you to do in turn. Get up and walk across it and start looking at your reflection. And I want you to start telling your reflection something positive. And it was interesting because it's like, some of them said nothing. They just walk across and look at the reflection and said nothing. And some of them actually embrace it. So it's interesting because those that said nothing, I realized that those are the students I really do need to work on, because, you know, obviously there have been things that I've said to them earlier on in their life that doesn't make them feel confident in looking at a reflection in the window. So those are some of the things I've been doing with my students. And I must say there have been wins, because my lesson is 1 hour. So I would do that because I had to do that with all my students, because this is the first week I'm seeing them. I saw some on Friday, so I did that with them on Friday. So we did about 20 minutes, probably roughly 20 minutes of the self-talk, you know, the mirror work and the reflection work, and also the 2 letters and the journaling. And then I looked at the power of the mind, that it could heal you or it could kill you. Because I want the students to start embracing the power of the mind and what the mind could do for them. And I wanted them to see that they are in control of the mind, not the other way around. I know that is these things I have to constantly, you know, do with the students, because this is not things they're used to. But I must say, some of the groups I've had more than once, it's beginning to work for them. So it's been a really fantastic week so far. It's a brilliant school. You know, because as I said, one of the things for me, which is a really big win, is the personal development, which that school is doing with every student, because it really helped them in terms of the mental health. Because that school as well take mental health very, very serious. They actually have mental health on the agenda. Not only mental health regarding the students, they have also concern in terms of mental health regarding the educators. So that for me is a big win for that school. There are a few things which, you know, I'm not happy with, but, you know, you have swings and roundabouts. But for me, those factors are major factors. And in terms of moving forward, I think that's, you know, that's brilliant. Anyway, those are my wins, and I want you guys to identify your win. And I also want you to identify what you are grateful for today, right? Because you got up this morning, there were a number of things that you did. So now reflect back and ask yourself, today, what have I done that I feel so grateful for?